do you ultimately see the current coalition holding or no?
I do, and I see it holding because I think that there's a bacon and egg situation here. What do they say? Bacon and eggs. The chicken is involved, but the pig's committed, right? And the thing is that if this thing collapses, who loses? I'm a big fan of looking at things as saying, what goes wrong here? So let's say tomorrow there's a irreconcilable problem, which could actually happen here in Gauteng. Let's just say it happens, and the DA walks away, let's just say. Well, does Freedom Front stay? Does IFP stay? They won't have the numbers. What do you do? Blah, blah, blah. You can go into it. But let's just say the thing collapses. Everybody goes their own way, right? What does the ANC look like to their voters? They look useless. They look like they took the ultimate gamble and lost, right? And couldn't even hold this together, and there's no way they could spin their way out of it. There's no way they could say, well, we gave it a try. Because everybody will be so quick to say, well, you should never have dealt with those whites in the first place. Right? So, in other words, the ANC here, it's critical that this thing works. Let's look at the other parties. Let's look at the DA. If they walk away, they can say, nobody can deal with these guys, and we got the paper trail to prove it. Will they lose their voters? I think they'd actually get strengthened. So they've got nothing to lose if this thing collapses, right? So for that reason, I think that the ANC have to stay the course. So this past weekend, when we were having huge problems as to whether this thing was going to be formed at all, because they were stuffing around with the cabinet positions. And eventually there had to be, what was Cyril's thing, take it or leave it. It doesn't make any legal sense what you're saying. Well, maybe it does. So I'm saying from that point of view, I do think it will happen because the ANC have to have it happen. What are they going to do? Go back to Jacob Zuma? Jacob Zuma, you've got to understand why they didn't speak to Zuma or to the EFF. There's two different reasons, and people must stop thinking that they're even remotely the same. Zuma said he wouldn't deal, and he says it every time he's got a microphone, he won't deal with the ANC of Ramaphosa.
Nathi le ANC ephethwe uRamaphosa. Akubona le ngiyazi.
That's like me saying to you, I won't deal with you unless you divorce your wife. Right? Don't tell me what to do. They've just elected the guy. It would be the ultimate face-losing thing to say, we agree with you, we'll get rid of our leader. Who's ever going to say that? So their precondition was huge. Malema was saying the same thing. And to make it worse for the EFF is that they've been in these metro coalitions, and the EFF has been a terrible partner. Unstable, you never know if they're good. They change the goalposts all the time. So the ANC there's some track record there. And so the point is, what are their options, is what I'm saying. So I think it's going to happen, or it will work, it will go forward.
Is there any world where the GNU runs its course and the ANC get credit if things work? Because my brain is wondering, if the GNU runs and the DA and the ANC do well, then the accusation is that you needed the DA in order to govern better. So I'm trying to understand, in a sense, is there any world where the ANC actually comes out on top?
Yeah, there is a world where that happens, and I'll tell you where that world happens. It happens in two places. One is where there was a huge pool of people that didn't vote. And it's safe to say, there's always, up until this election, or up until the 2021 election, there was always a saying that the ANC could count on 10 million votes, because that was the hard number. Right, go back to 2004, they got 12 million votes. That was their best. So just take that number. This election, they got 6 million votes. So what I'm saying is that there's at least a couple of million votes, not university votes, but a couple of million votes of potential ANC voters that just simply didn't vote. So I'm saying there is a world, let's just say South Africa starts doing really well. There is a world where many of those people that didn't vote come back and vote for the ANC. So they do stand to gain out of this.
Okay.
So, we shouldn't be blind to the fact that they could potentially be the big winner here.
Yeah.
And what happens after that? Well, that we won't worry about for tonight. Worry about that in the future.